The most dangerous hour of my whole sentence had no people in it. Sunday, mid-morning, year 2, my cell, and I was lying on my bunk doing nothing, which sounds like rest, and was actually the beginning of drowning. The unit was quiet, church call had taken half the tear, and I lay there and felt my mind slide off the edge of the day into the water underneath it, the counting water, how many years left, how many Sundays in a year, how old my niece would be, how old I would be, what I had done, what I had lost, around and I surfaced 2 hours later exhausted like I had been swimming, because I had been, and I want you to hold that picture for a minute. A woman lying perfectly still on a bunk in no danger at all, losing a fight. Because I did 6 years in a women's maximum custody facility, and I have spent every video telling you how I kept my body safe in there. The braid, the cards, the clean name, and tonight I owe you the harder ledger. Because the truth is, the building never once put a hand on me, and my own mind put me on the floor more times than I can count. 4 rules. These are the ones that kept my head right, or right enough, for 6 years, and here my credentials at their honest size, lower than usual. I am not a doctor, not a counselor, nothing. I am a woman who did her time and watched 100 other women do theirs, and I saw who stayed whole and who came apart, and I took notes the way I take notes on everything. And the boundary, said plainly and said first, because this topic carries weight the others did not. If you are inside right now, or you love somebody inside, and the water I am describing has gotten deep, deeper than routines and rules can touch, then the mental health staff, the psych services, the counselor request slip, those doors are real, and walking through one is not weakness and it is not surrender, and nothing tonight is a substitute for it. My rules are a raft. Some water needs a boat. Now, the debunk, because the movies have failed you here worse than anywhere. Film shows prison-breaking minds through cruelty, the screaming cell block, the sadistic officer, the terror. And the terror exists. I have never lied to you about that. But hear the real version. What came for our minds on my unit was not cruelty. It was sameness. 2,000 days that were the same day, the same count times, the same trays, the same fluorescent hum, the same walk to the same yard, until time stopped feeling like a road and started feeling like a room. The movies cannot film it because there is nothing to film, and inside that sameness, the mind does what a mind does in still water. It circles. Grief circles. Guilt circles. The math of the years circles. And the women I watched come apart almost never got broken by an event. They got worn down by rotation, the same thoughts on the same track at the same hours, wearing the groove deeper every lap. So the enemy has a shape now. Hold it. Everything I am about to give you is a weapon against circling. Rule 1. Feed your mind on a schedule, the same way the state feeds your body. Left alone, a mind inside eats whatever is lying around. And what is lying around in a prison is the past and the count of the years, and both of those are poison in large amounts. So I learned, from an older woman on my unit who did her time like a monk, to put my mind on a meal plan. She read every morning after count 1 hour, a library western, a magazine, scripture, it almost did not matter what. And when I asked her why the same hour every day, she said, if I don't choose what goes in there, it chooses. So I built my own plan. Mornings I read. Afternoons I wrote letters, and you know from my other videos what letters held up in my life. But understand now what the writing itself was doing. It was giving the circling water a channel, because a thought that goes onto paper moves in a line, beginning to middle to end, and a thought that stays in the skull moves in a circle. And that difference, line versus circle, is nearly the whole science of surviving your own head in a cell. Evenings I studied for a certificate program I honestly cared nothing about at the start. I cared about it plenty by the end, but I signed up for the schedule, not the subject. Choose the food or be the food. That is rule 1 in one sentence. Rule 2, keep one clock that belongs to the future and wind it every day. Here is what the sameness does that nobody warns you about. It unhooks you from time. When every day is the same day, the future stops feeling real, and a woman with no future in her chest is a woman in real danger. I watched it. The flattening, the shrug, the not writing back, the not walking to yard, the water closing over quietly. So you keep a clock the building did not issue you. Mine was small and it was almost silly. My sister was raising my niece, and my niece was learning to read the year I went in, and I asked my sister to send me 1 page a month, whatever the girl was reading, wherever she had gotten to. And every month a page came, a picture book page, then chapter book pages, then one day a paragraph the kid had written herself, and I kept them in order in a folder, and that folder was a clock, ticking in a direction the count times could not touch. Proof in my locker that time was a road out there, even if it was a room in here. Other women kept other clocks. A parole date broken into study milestones, a garden plot in the yard program, a grandbaby's photographs in sequence. The object does not matter. What matters is that it moves, that it changes month over month, because your mind will believe whatever evidence you feed it. And a clock that moves is evidence of a future, and evidence of a future is the whole ball game in there. Rule 3, and this is the one I broke: ration the past, because memory inside is not free. My first 2 years I did what every new woman does. I lived backward. I replayed my case, my choices, the night everything went wrong, the faces in the courtroom, and I want to confess the shape of it honestly, because it did not feel like drowning at the time. It felt like responsibility. I told myself I was reflecting, taking accountability, doing the work, and some of that was true, and here the correction carved into this rule, because accountability is real, and I am not teaching you to run from what you did or what was done to you. There is a version of looking back that walks somewhere, that ends in a letter written, an amends planned, a lesson pulled out of the wreck and kept. And there is a version that circles, the same scene, the same hallway, the same words, no exit, lap after lap, and my Sunday on that bunk in year 2 was 200 laps of a track I had already worn to the bone, and the woman who fished me out was my card partner, who found me flat that afternoon and sat down and said one sentence I have carried since. "You already served that day," she said. "Stop serving it twice." So I built the ration. When the past showed up, I gave it a job, or I gave it a door. A job meant paper, write the thing, face it in lines instead of circles, and more than once that paper turned into something real. An amends letter I actually sent, a conversation with the counselor I actually had. A door meant naming it, out loud sometimes, alone in my cell. That day is served, and standing up, physically standing up, and putting my hands on the present, a book, a broom, a deck of cards. It sounds too simple to work. Simple is what works in there. The past is a debt collector. And you know my oldest teaching about debt. You pay what you truly owe, once, in full, on purpose. You do not let it compound. Rule 4, tend another woman's garden, because the mind cannot circle while its hands are full. This is the rule nobody expects, and it is the one that carried the most weight the longest. Somewhere in year 3, the older woman who taught me the reading hour asked me to help a girl on our unit study for her GED, and I said yes to be polite, and I want to tell you what I noticed within a month. The hours I spent on that girl's math were the quietest hours my own head had. Not numb, quiet, because a mind pointed at someone else's trouble cannot simultaneously circle its own. It is a mechanical fact, like a wheel, that cannot spin 2 directions at once. And I looked around my unit with new eyes after that, and I saw it everywhere, hidden in plain sight, the steadiest women, the ones whose minds had survived decades. Every single one of them was tending something, teaching somebody's daughter to read, writing letters for women who could not, running the yard walking group, braiding hair, the honest version, the free version, keeping the birthday list for a whole tier. The movies show survival inside as a wall you build around yourself. And here the real version. The women who only built walls went strange behind them. I watched it. And the women who lasted built doors. Service is not charity in there. It is ballast. It keeps the boat pointed into the waves. So there are the 4. Feed your mind on a schedule. Keep a clock that belongs to the future. Ration the past. Pay it once, on purpose. And tend another woman's garden. Boil them down and it is one sentence. A mind inside stays right the same way a body inside stays safe. Not by hardness, by structure, because the empty hour is the dangerous hour, and structure is how you never stand in one unarmed. The limits, honestly, and tonight they matter more than ever. One woman, one unit, 6 years, and I was lucky in ways I did not earn. Letters that came, a sister who stayed, a mind that bent without breaking. Some women carry diagnoses and histories that rules and routines cannot reach, and for them, the doors I named at the top are not optional extras. They are the whole answer, and no shame lives anywhere near that sentence. Comments, gently tonight, no names, no facilities, no case details, and be kind in this section, or I will clear it without apology. If you did time, tell me what your clock was, the thing that kept the future real, because I collect these now. If you work inside, in psych services, or the chaplaincy, or the classrooms, tell us what you wish more women knew about the doors. And if your person is inside right now and going quiet on the phone, do not accept the flatness, send the pages, be the clock. You have no idea what a folder in a locker can hold up. Next time, the release video I have been promising since the beginning, the first 30 days out, because everything these 4 rules built in there got tested in one grocery store aisle out here, and I owe you that story. I will end on the bunk where I started. Sunday, year 2. The still woman losing the quiet fight. That woman did not know yet that the war of her sentence would not be fought in the day room or the yard. It would be fought in the empty hour, on a thin mattress, in silence, and that she would win it with a library book, a folder of a child's pages, a served debt, and somebody else's math homework. People out here ask me what prison was like, and they always ask about the danger, and I understand. It is the movie asking. The buildings hold your body. I learned to hold my mind. 6 years, and the closest I came to losing everything was a quiet Sunday morning. I have never wasted one since.